Hi, welcome back to our tutorial series, Adobe CS2. Today we're going to be looking at Lesson 6. Lesson 6 is basically about working with layers. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at organizing artwork on the layers, creating, viewing, hiding, selecting, rearranging, applying blending modes, linking layers, using a gradient, adding text and layer effects, and then eventually maybe flattening the layers. We'll see. I don't really like flattening them, and for some of the reasons I mentioned in lesson 5. Anyways, to get going, I'm going to open 06 Start, turn off those annoying extras, and there we go. Quick comment on layers. Right now we see 4 layers in here. One of them is visible. If you turn and click the eye, you can make it invisible. In order to work with a layer, you need to have the layer selected. You can turn it on. If you need to, you can lock the layer, and that means you can't edit it. You can also unlock it if you like and turn it off. That's basic information off page 159. Page 160 asks us to bring in a photo using Adobe Bridge. I'm going to bring it in using Place function. File, menu, Place, Photo, place it in. Notice it's automatically named. It dropped it in above the layer I had previously selected. I'm going to hit enter to execute that place. I don't have to rename it, so I'm going to move it if you like. And now we're looking at page 163. And it's going to ask us to remove some of that white stuff from in and around the photo. On my photo layer, clicked it, so it's active. Page 164. Going to the Magic Eraser button, which is under the Eraser tool. Magic Eraser. This works like the Magic Wand tool. Instead of actually selecting a range of pixels, it erases a range of pixels depending on what the tolerance is set at. It asks us to set the tolerance to 22. Hit enter, and then click the photo. Now I won't click the photo won't work with the photo because it's treating this photo as a vector object. So I'm going to convert it as asked. Then I can click, and we're basically done to the end of page 164. The reason why this thing doesn't show up with the dots here is because my background layer is still turned on. So if I turn it off, you can see that the background area is there, shows as transparent. I'll turn my background layer back on. We are asked on page 165 to change or to move the photo area, the photo to between the shell and the letter. So just drag and drop. And also then turn on those 3 layers. Notice the layer on the top in the stack is also on the top in the picture. I'm going to switch tools to move because moving tools is a little less dangerous than Magic Eraser tool. Sometimes I click where I shouldn't. We are going to be working on the paper texture layer, and in this one we're going to change the opacity and mode. Opacity is on the top, mode is found right here. Page 168 asks us to, and 167 Ask us to first change the opacity to 50%, to change our mode to luminosity, and then to bump up our opacity to 75. And that finishes that area. Our next step is to link two layers so they work together. Before I do that, I'd like to move my photo so that it looks like it's a little bit more positioned as in the textbook sample. I'm on my photo layer. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to click my letter layer. I'm going to go to my layer options button up in the top right hand corner. I'm going to pick link layers. If I had wanted to, I could have right clicked and picked link layers also. Notice you see unlinked layers right now because the link layer command has been executed. It asks us to go to the edit menu, to free transform, and to scale this picture down. So I'm going to grab the corner, hold shift, and scale it in. I'm keeping an eye in the top in my options menu here. I'll indicate it here for a sec. Up in here I'm keeping an eye on my numbers. I want it down by 20%, so that means I want 80% left, or around there, 79.9, close enough. Hit enter to execute the command, and that page finishes page 169. Using move, you can tweak it a bit, however you like, and there you go. Our next step is to add a gradient layer. We're going to go to the bottom of the layers palette. We're going to click the create a new layer button. We're going to double click the text. We'll call it gradient, and click on and off it so that you're back on that layer. Then we're going to go to the gradient tool in the toolbar. We're going to go to the top here in this drop down menu for the gradient type, and we're looking for the one that says foreground to background transparent. And usually if you mouse over it, it'll show you a dialog box telling you what layer it is. I happen to know that it is this one here, solid color to transparent, so that's the one I want. I want a linear gradient, and the rest of this stuff is unaffected. Turning the page to 172, we want to click the swatches tab, which is buried in underneath here someplace. Swatches tab, and pick a shade of green that we like. Notice that our gradient has changed. Notice also our foreground color here has changed. Step 7, 172. Using the gradient tool, click and drag. Before I let it go, I'll point out that where you start your click is going to be 100% opaque green. And where you let go of your click is going to be 100% transparent. Anything past the transparent point will be transparent. Anything past the green opaque point will be opaque green. So we let that go. So my gradient starts about here, and there's less and less and less green until all the green is gone here, and from there it's transparent. You cannot modify the green or modify your gradient in this program by reapplying. All it's going to do if you use the gradient tool again here is to apply another instance of the gradient. In the end of this on 172, it asks us to change our mode to multiply, and to change our opacity to 75. And basically what we've done there is we've multiplied the green in the picture, and we've let the other layers underneath shine through our gradient layer by changing the opacity. Our next step is to add text on page 173. It wishes us to deselect all layers by clicking in an area that there is no layer. So I can grab the top of my layers palette, drag it up, make it bigger, click on the bottom. I don't know, this is really necessary, but that's what the textbook wants us to do. We're going to click the horizontal text type tool. Notice you got horizontal, vertical, and a couple of masks. So I want the horizontal type. The book suggests that we select Garamond or Adobe Garamond Pro. It's up to you. They use italics. They want a large font size, so I'm going to pick it off the drop down. I'm going to pick 72. The book wants crisp, and you can see these options on the bottom of 173. Left align, and step 2, which we forgot, was to click this default over here and see that our picture shows up, or our font now shows up as black. I'm going to click over here someplace. I'm going to type in scrapbook. Click the check mark to commit edits. Use the move tool and line it up along the edge here. That brings us through step 5 and on to page 175, where we're going to apply a layer style. Applying layer styles can be done, I believe, through this area here. Layer properties or blending options. We can find something in here that would help us. Possibly up in the top here underneath the menu here, layer style, or off the bottom of this palette here, and that's where I'm going to work. And we are going to be looking for the inner bevel style off of bevel and emboss. Make sure preview is selected. It's nice to have the dialog box off so you can see what's going on. We're supposed to be setting inner bevel on the style. We're supposed to be setting the depth to 50%, and just click off beside it rather than hitting enter, because that applies your style. If you did happen to hit enter, you could always go back in and double click your styles icon to bring it back up, and then go back to what you were working on. Our size is 5 pixels, our softening is 0, and it looks like all the rest of the stuff in here is default, so we'll leave it alone and up for the direction. In the left pane, we're going to be looking for drop shadow. We want our mode to be set to multiply. Our opacity is 75% as default. And we're going to click the rest of it. You can see what's going on there. I'm just going to play with the contour button so you can kind of see what's going on with that. I'm going to pick that one, or perhaps this one. In our next step, step 8, I'm going to go to cover overlay. I'm going to set the mode as being normal. I am going to use the picker, the color, and I'm going to manually type in the value of 255, 218, and 47 is in the textbook. Step 6, page 176. Gives me a nice yellow color. And that's on my cover overlay. It should have been, not my drop shadow. So that's going to have to go back to black. Messed that up. You want to multiply there. Wasn't paying attention here. Cover overlay. There we go. Color overlay. Normal. Let's work that again. 255. 218. And 218. 47. That's better. And okay. I'm just going to go back to my drop shadow command for a sec here, and I'm going to decrease the distance just a tiny bit. And okay. And there you have it. Notice if you go to your layers palette, you'll see that there is some effects here that are applied. There's a few things that are listed here. Double click this. I don't really want a pattern overlay on that, so I'm going to take that checkbox off. You can see that it's gone, it's turned off. And make that disappear. And you can click that upwards arrow. Our next step on page 178. We're going to be working with this layer here too. We need to turn it on. Horizontal text type tool. Step 2. Step 3. 255 and enter. Makes that 2 bigger. Select the text. Step 4. Make it a 3. Use the move tool. Lift it up a bit. That brings us to page 179. We want the letter layer. We're going to add a layer style. We're looking for drop shadow, and this time I'll copy exactly what they're doing. Drop shadow, black, multiply, opacity 50%. Distance 5 pixels. Spread 5%. Size 10 pixels. Step 2. Click OK. Over the page 180. Step 3. So we're going to click this drop shadow. We're going to hold Alt, and we're going to pull it onto the photo layer. And apparently it should copy. Mine isn't. I'm not sure why. I can move it, but it doesn't want to copy. The last step would be to also put that drop shadow onto the shell layer and then flatten the file. I'll tell you how to do that. Go to layer and go flatten image, and that basically scrunches all your layers together. I don't recommend doing that because then you can never rework this thing, so you can't edit it. I would rather go file, save as, and set it as a PNG file or something like that, or save it as another Photoshop file and then flatten it so that you don't destroy your original. So I'll leave you to do the drop shadowing or finish the drop shadowing on those other layers, and then that brings us to the end of lesson 6. Thank you for watching. Look forward to looking at lesson 7 with you, masks and channels.